Today we are going to learn how to create a realistic lipstick in Photoshop, and I had already created one like this. This was before and this is after, and when I open this group you realize these are just adjustment layers with different blending modes and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's start off. Now, I want to delete this group so that we can start from scratch. And I'll make a copy of this background so that whenever I make a mistake, I have a background to go back to. Then I will rename this model just like that. So I need to create an adjustment layer, and I'll just come here to adjustment layers, then choose solid color. Then in the solid color, I will choose a color that you will choose the favorite color, but it should be closer to reddish. So I'll choose this red, CD201F. It's a common color used for YouTube, and you can see that the color is covering the whole of our image. So what I'll do, I want to invert this mask, and then I will paint it on the lips. And first of all, I will create, if you look at this my image, when I zoom in you realize that the lower lip is more dark than the upper lip. Therefore I will differentiate. I will draw or both of these layers or both of these lips differently. So the first one I want just to paint on the lower lip, so I will call it lower lip, and it will be a dark shade, so just call it lower lip dark. Then I'll come to this mask and hit Ctrl I, and then I want just to paint here. And again I want to change this blending mode of this layer from normal to multiply. Remember, a multiply blending mode makes things darker, so therefore I'll change it to multiply so that it's darker. Then I will choose a soft brush from my brushes and increase the size. Make sure that the hardness is 0, increase the size, and then I just need to make first of all I will draw on these edges of the lip, and then later on I will paint into the lip itself. Therefore I'll reduce the flow to something like 50 or 51 and reduce the size of this. Then I will make sure when you're doing that you have the white in the foreground, so I'll just hit X to change that. Remember, the white reveals and the black conceals. Therefore I'll just follow this line of the lip where the lipstick should reach. Just make it that way. You'll be as precise as possible. And remember, I'm going to do the lower lip, and also I'll make for the upper lip just like that. And your art teacher of course taught you that you should draw the lining first and then you can now paint in. So I'll just raise the flow to 100 so that I can paint in. So in case I paint outside this, don't worry, we shall just refine that to what we need. So you will paint just like this, and make sure that you're just following these linings. Please don't go outside the lip because it won't look realistic and it won't even be as beautiful as you would like it to be. So just like this, and I'll also make here, shall make adjustments some other time, but for a start I think this is good, just like that. So you can see if I zoom out you realize this is how it looks like, but you'll realize that it is too dark, so I need to make some adjustments before we continue. And remember, this is a darker shade that I'm giving it. So what I want to do, I want to try and make sure that it is as dark as possible. And I want to use, first of all, I've used the adjustment layer. The next thing I want to do, I want to use the blend if. So what I'll do, I'll just come and double click here, and after double clicking, it will open for me the blending options. Then I will remove the highlights from this dark place, because what we need is the dark parts alone. So I will remove the highlights. Of course, these are the highlights, these are the shadows, so I remove them this way. And you can see it is hard. When you're removing, you realize that it is so hard. What I'll do, I will make it smoother by holding Alt, then and click here so that I separate the two and make it as smooth as possible. So this will depend on the type of image that you have. You will adjust until you reach the lip that you want. But I guess for this this is beautiful. Then I'll say okay. Then if I need to change maybe the hue and maybe the brightness, I can increase the brightness a bit. When it comes to saturation, what if I reduce and if I increase? I guess yeah, it's okay. The hue, you choose a color that is closer to red. You can see red is closer to brown and yellow, so I can put it somewhere here. Not too much red, not too much brown, something close to that. Now the next adjustment layer I want to make, of course it will be on the lower lip, so I'll just make a copy of this layer. Just drag and drop it here and make a copy. Then I'll call it lower lip, but this will be a bright one. So this will be lower lip bright, so that we are just going to make some changes here. You can see it's looking so bad, so I want to make changes in the blend if. So just double click here, and then I will do the opposite. Remember, I was now removing the highlights from the lower lip, this layer, but on this layer I need now to do the opposite. Just return this to my far right, and then deal with these shadows. You can see it's hard. I think you know the process. Let's make it as soft as possible, and you'll make it until you feel like this is what you truly want. You can just move along with this and try to adjust until you achieve a realistic lip in this Photoshop. Let me assume that's okay. Then I'll come and make some adjustments. Maybe to the hue I'll add something like, if I need it to be something purple, just like this, give it a little bit of purple. Then on the saturation, let me try and increase. That's okay. The brightness, let me try and lower the brightness so that it's becoming darker, just like that. You can see the difference. It's adding something. But then when I wanted to realize that on these edges it's affecting these edges, so I'll just select this mask and paint off that. Just hit X and zoom in. Then I'll paint off this extra thing that is putting here, so that it's only in the lip and not outside the lip. Just make sure that it's inside this lip, just like that. Now I need to make another adjustment layer just on the lower lip. Just take this layer and make a copy of it, then drag it, put it at this place. So you drag it and put it here, then rename it to, it should be darker. Now I just need to make a shade that is darker, so I just make it darker. Then first of all, remember this one, I forgot to tell you, this was bright, so I will change the blending mode from multiply to screen. Screen is the opposite of multiply. So screen is a blending mode that makes things brighter, and when you come to multiply, it's a blending mode that makes things darker. So that is it. I think it is not well here. Just select here. I want to make some changes to refine the edges. Just make it like this so that it is only where it is should be, just like that. Now on this layer, just leave it to be multiply. Then I will also play around with these toggles so that I make it a bit darker. So I'll return this to my right and then play around with this, just make it smoother and make sure that it's to a place that you really want it to be. Remember, we need to make it darker, so you'll adjust it until you feel it's darker the way you want it. I think that's okay. Then hit OK. Now we are through with the lower lip. Then I need us now to make an adjustment layer for the upper lip. So I'll just make a new adjustment layer, then solid, and also I'll give it the same color, CD201F. Just say OK. Hit select the mask, then hit Ctrl I, and change the blending mode from normal to multiply. Take a soft brush, reduce the size and also reduce the flow so that you make the lining on this lip. Then just reduce this size further and make sure that the foreground color is white. Then just make then just draw this lining so that you know where you will be reaching. Just like that. Then I will increase the flow. After increasing the flow, just paint to the upper lip, just like this. Paint as precise as possible so that you can achieve what you want, what exactly you want. Just like this. I know it will take you some time, but then it's worth it, because you know what you'll be making is more beautiful than you know what someone sent you. Then what I'll now do here, you can see I've painted in the teeth, so I want to remove that from the teeth. I'll just change the foreground to black, then reduce the size of my brush and release this color or this lipstick from the teeth, just like that, so that you can separate the two. Hit X and paint here on this lining, just like that. Now again, I need to add blend. If I'll rename this to upper lip dark. Then I'll play around with the blend. If just double click here, and also I'll do the same thing I did to the other one. Just play around with this and make it softer by hitting the Alt. So as you change, you look at the lip, how it is behaving until you achieve what you want. It should be a bit brighter this way. Just play around with this. Yeah, I think that's okay. Maybe do something like this. I think that's okay. Then also, if I want to make some changes to the hue or the brightness, just come here, maybe increase the brightness, and saturation, maybe increase the saturation, say okay. Then I'll also make a copy of this layer, just like this, and I'll name it to upper lip bright. Just name it to bright. Then I'll change the blending mode from multiply to screen. Then I'll play around with the blend if options, and I'll do the opposite of what I did. I'll return this to my right, and I'll now deal with the shadows and make them softer, just like this. So I'll deal with it until I achieve a realistic lipstick of the upper part. I think this is fine. I think this is fine and it's realistic. Then I can also play around with the color, maybe the saturation or the hue, and just make it something like closer to red but not that much red. And the brightness, I'll also increase the brightness, and the saturation, maybe I reduce the saturation. Now what I'll do, you can add another adjustment layer maybe to make it darker, but I guess to this point we have achieved what we really needed. I'll now group this into one group, and no, sorry, I'll just group this into one group. So this is before, this is after. If you feel that your lipstick is too much, you can make a layer mask of this group and then try to reduce it. So I'll do that, just make a layer mask, then pick the brush, make sure that black is in the foreground, increase the size of this, and just paint off like this, in case you need to make it this way. But I've realized here I've messed, so I'll hit X and try to paint now, paint back what I had lost. Just like that. Even I think the before was okay. Just like this, then I think this is now okay. This is before, this is after. This is before, this is after. I had also made some other samples like this one. You can see I've given her lipstick. This was before, this is after, and you can realize again that the lower lip is darker than the upper lip, and I just used the same procedure to do that. I also have another model here, and this is how it is. This one, they don't have that much difference between the lower and the upper, and still the same process. You just giving her a realistic lipstick in Photoshop. So I hope this tutorial was good for you, and if it truly was, I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn the notifications on, so that when I'll be uploading this new stuff, you'll be always notified. Otherwise, let's meet in the next tutorial.